Cody and John, hello. Cody and John, you win, although Kay did send me a picture of her pasta just before we started. So hello, Cody and John. Hello, Kay. Glad you made the pasta. Hello, Angela. We missed you so much. Knock off gin in hand. That's all right. That'll be lovely too. Everyone's, well, not everyone. We've been making pasta, getting wine ready. 13-year-old Chardonnay, exactly, Craig. Peter and Karen didn't have a lot of shopping and cooking time. Fair enough. You are getting organised and moving. So Coddy wants to know whose recipe it is. I got it off one of those American websites. I can't remember which one it was, though, because when I typed it out and didn't write down what it was. Mainland Tasty, Angela, excellent. G'day, Nareem. How are you and all the dyes? Michael, 2011 Duc. I can't wait either. Hello, David. And hello, Fiona. Good to see you guys. Well, just about everyone logged in, I think. It's lovely to see you all. All right, Jeff, excited for tonight. I think Sue's been cooking pasta as well. Yes, it is American because of the cup measure. Emily and Kevin. Oh, Emily's there. Kevin's at the farm. Oh, dear. How did you work out who got the wine, Emily? Oh, I think you've got 2 boxes, haven't you? Bottle each. Sizzler toast. I knew I could count on you, Shell and Andrew, to make the sizzler toast. Oh, Fiona, we only have one sick person, really. Jeremy's had a terrible cough for a long time, but poor old Leonie's got the flu. Hi, Loans, if you're there, we're missing you. And I've been all over the place, so I couldn't look after Celador. So we just thought, you know what, it's just easier to not offer tastings for a couple of days. But yes, we've had a lot of people checking in to make sure everyone's okay. We're all okay, but we're looking forward to Leonie feeling better, and Liz is back tomorrow because she has other things that she has to do during the week. Anyway, potato and leek soup for Craig and the Goodmans. Michael's having halloumi and ratatouille. Yeah, that'll be delicious. I'm not sure if the ratatouille will work with the Chardonnay, to be perfectly honest, Michael, but that's okay. It'll be delicious. Fiona shucks Appalachian oysters. But Fiona, you hate oysters. David just said she hates oysters. That's really sweet. We're going to do oysters with the 2017 Chardonnay later on in the box as well. Jeremy has promised me that he will come back to work and shuck some oysters live on camera for us, so that should be fun. So we'll come back to the oysters, so you can have another go at it, Fiona, and feed David more oysters. You are a keeper, absolutely. That's great work. All right, let's get some Chardonnay in the glass. The beautiful 2011 Chardonnay, 13 years old. Now, this one we have had a few times before for those of you who've been on the Drinks with Kate journey for a while. But every time I look at it, it changes. So I think as an elderly states wine of Moorooduc Estate, I think it's important for us to check in on this 2011 Chardonnay every now and again. A lot of you will remember that that 2011 was not the easiest of vintages, but that we found 2011 worked very nicely for Chardonnay in the end. Oh, Fiona, you're eating prawns instead. Well, that's terrific. I'm very glad to hear that. Oh, hello, Anne-Marie. Lovely to see you. Love this Chardonnay too. Michael, I'll answer that question in a minute. Anne-Marie, it went beautifully with the Gravlax, with creme fraiche and Richard's char-grilled sourdough. How lovely. Yes, it did actually. A couple of weeks ago at our last dinner, lunch dinner, whatever time of day it is. It's food and wine. It's wonderful. So 2011, difficult year, but turned out to be a beautiful year for Chardonnay. And Michael's asking why we have some left. And the very simple reason is that 2011 got panned by a number of wine critics before the fruit was even in the winery. So because the weather was so difficult during the growing season, it rained a lot. There was a lot of disease pressure. There was not a lot of sunshine. The Chardonnay was on the vine for about a month longer than it usually would be to get it ripe. The critics just basically said it's been such a dreadful growing year across Australia, wet and humid and disease-ridden for all of Australia except for Western Australia, and they had a drought and a heat wave. They said no wine from Australia from 2011 will be any good, and so people actually didn't want to taste it. They didn't believe us, and we had other winemakers who were writing emails to their mailing list saying anyone who tells you that they made a good wine from 2011 is trying to get one over you. It was really bizarre, and it was really nasty. And 2011 is a vintage that for us we had a few things that worked for us, and we also worked very hard in the vineyard to keep things clean and disease-free. It's one of the years that we were very pleased that we weren't trying to be organic, because a little antifungal spray early on in the growing season was very important to stop the fruit just rotting away from all the fungal diseases that were around. But also because we're on a hill and because we have very sandy soil that drains well, when everybody else's vineyard was waterlogged, and ours was as well, our soil drained enough that we could get a tractor in early enough to get a spray on, so that the vines were a little bit safer from all of the disease pressure during the growing season. Whereas a lot of other wineries, vineyards had just couldn't get into the vineyard because the tractors got bogged, and the vines were just wet and waterlogged and in a really sorry state. So it's partly the geography, Michael, that was on our side. It was partly the fact that we spent about 3 times as much as we would normally spend in the vineyard during the growing season looking after the fruit, looking after the vines. So a lot more handwork, a lot more human intervention in the vineyard. So going in there, opening up the canopies, plucking leaves, getting rid of any diseased fruit that we saw along the way. So a lot more money spent on work in the vineyard, which can't translate to the price. We can't make the wine 3 times as expensive, particularly when people don't want to even try it, let alone buy it. And it's 3 times as expensive as usual. Just isn't going to work. But questions. Michael, are you a winemaker that can almost always produce a silk purse from a sour of a year? Michael, I would never say always. We work really hard in our vineyard, and we are small enough to be able to. The vineyard's small enough, and we're hands-on enough to be able to be reactive when we see issues coming up. We can get in there and react to them and try and improve any problems that we might see. And so I think in that way, that bit of extra hands-on attention has been something that's helped us in some difficult years. It's a difficult year that brings out the skill of the viticulturist and the winemaker. If you've got a beautiful year, it's easy to make a beautiful wine. In a difficult year, you have to work a bit harder to make it, and you need to be fairly ruthless about what you leave out as well as what you put in. Yes, attention to detail and quality control is something that allows us to make better wine than we would if we didn't pay so much attention in a difficult year, if that makes sense. There are a lot of other people who made good Chardonnay in 2011. There were other people that I know who tipped it all down the drain because it just didn't work for them. Pinot Noir was harder, but ironically, our Pinot Noir, we made mostly estate Pinot Noir and Devil Bend Creek Pinot Noir with a little bit of Robinson single vineyard. We didn't make any Duc, but we because the wine was surprisingly not crap. So how somebody once described it to me, and there was so little Pinot Noir out in the marketplace, we sold through that very fast and very well, and the wine went down a treat with people because it was good, and we declassified a lot of our single vineyard fruit to estate. We declassified a lot of our estate fruit to Devil Bean Creek, and we dealt with it that way. The Chardonnays also we were also in a time where people still thought that they didn't like to drink Chardonnay. So on top of the fact that it was a difficult year and people were a bit ho-hum about even trying the wine, let alone investing in it, we were right at the height of, in 2012, 2013, when we were releasing this wine, we were right at the height of the anti-Chardonnay movement. And so Chardonnay was difficult to sell anyway, particularly expensive Chardonnay. The wine itself looks fabulous, and people are saying that they think it looks better than last time they saw it. Hello, Linda. I think I really like the savouriness of the nose and the complexity of the nose. And Craig's saying it seems the slight lack of fruit has made way for some beautiful aromatics. It certainly has its place in the drinking vernacular for sure. And Cotty, someone else asked somewhere about acid. Yes, David, does such a longer ripening mean higher acidity? So yes, so it was a really cool year. So that extra ripening time was trying to get the sugar levels up and the acid levels to settle down a little bit. And so, yes, the wine when it was young. And also we made a decision in 2011 to not put it all through not allow it all to go through a malolactic conversion. We put some of the barrels through malo, and we stopped some of the barrels from going through malo. Jill's brought me my pumpkin. Thank you, Jill. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Are you going to put it on the screen, or are you just going to hide it from people?
I can't do that. I'm hopeless at doing that.
There we go. Look at that. Oops, I just spilled
butternut
the butter all over the table, Jill.
With spilt butter on the table.
Could I have a cloth to tidy that up, please? Thank you. And it does go well with ratatouille, Michael. Excellent. Michael Woodward is saying, I adore the nose and the taste of this wine, as good as any great Burgundy. Let me have a little smell and a little taste, because I've been talking so much about why we've still got this wine. And I think honestly, people the wine was pretty tight and pretty fine and pretty high acid. David, you're right, when it was young. Pasta Granny, Angela Nicholas has called you Pasta Granny.
Right. Hi, Angela.
Going great with the oysters. Excellent, Craig. It would be beautiful with oysters. As I said last week, my first thought was oysters, but Jeremy wasn't available tonight, so we're gonna try the live oyster shucking later on in the box. And Kay, I'm so glad. I think it is a fabulous match to the pumpkin pasta. This pumpkin pasta is a dish that I've made a few times and really enjoyed making and eating, and I think it's a great Chardonnay food. So let's go. I feel like I've missed some people's comments. David, Seville Estate made in 2011 that took about 8 years to enjoy. Yeah, absolutely. And Shell, your sizzler toast bringing back childhood memories. Soft serve with mini marshmallows. Not sure all you can eat dessert would work with this wine. I don't think so. You'd have to drink your wine first and then go for your all-you-can-eat dessert afterwards, Shell. So, Kay, thank you for the sizzler toast recipe. That was a fun little addition to the offerings for today. That's very cute. So I love the colour of it as well. I mean, it's particularly good against my black jumper. It's got this incredible golden kind of glow to it, which is just gorgeous. It's reflecting the green painting behind me too, which sort of makes it look even prettier. But on the nose, it does have this beautiful kind of savoury, mellow, aromatic, but a brightness and a richness still that's really lovely. It smells to me a little bit like there's a little bit of lemon curd in there. There's a little bit of sort of gently cooked white peaches. It's got a nutty, toasty, cheesy character to it. And I think that the sweetness of the pumpkin and the creaminess of the burrata or the mozzarella and cream topping is going to work really, really well with this wine, because it's got those sort of creamy sweetish, vegetable-y kind of notes to it, real loveliness, which I think is really beautiful. The acid line's so clean. I think that's why it goes with most food. Absolutely, Craig. Let me put some in my mouth. The acid is so beautiful in this wine. Cleans everything up. It's going to make it work beautifully with your oysters. It's going to make it work really beautifully with the creaminess of the pasta. It's going to work beautifully with the caramelized cheese and bread of the sizzler toast. I just think it's such a fun wine to match to these sort of cheesy, creamy, rich things, but also fresh oysters. I was out to lunch with an old friend today, and we had to order the oysters, the freshly shucked oysters, and they were beautiful. So yes, I've had my oyster fix today as well. Anne-Marie, love the golden glow. I found it rounded, unctuous and creamy at Jill's lunch. Yeah, so we had it. So we had this wine at Jill's lunch, the last lunch that we did, and we made gravlax and creme fraiche to serve with it, and that's also a beautiful match with this wine. Really delicious. David's having buttery blue eye. Yum. That would be delicious with this wine. So yeah, fishy, buttery flavors would be really nice. Carbonara is another good one, Linda. Bacony, cheesy, pasta-y, eggy goodness. Yum. So Michael is saying, bringing us back to the seriousness of the situation, it was brave to make a Duc in 2011. We attempted to make a Estate in Devil Bean Creek only. And the 2011 Robinson also is delicious, and we had that a few weeks ago. It would have been probably easier to sell just Estate Chardonnay, but we felt very strongly that this was quite exciting wine. It's one of the what's the Greek myth about Cassandra who could see the truth, but no one would believe her. And we felt a little bit like Cassandra talking about this wine when it was young. It had so much promise, and it had so much energy and vibrancy, all kind of tied up in a very acidic, tight parcel. As people who know the vineyard and who know how these wines tend to evolve, and also as winemakers, Richard and Jeremy and I taste wine from when it starts as grapes all the way through the winemaking process. And so we're used to tasting unfinished wine, extremely young wine, and being able to sort of foresee what its potential might be as the finished wine and as a wine years down the track. And when we tasted these wines, it was a year where we really thought, is it even worth picking the fruit? And we picked the fruit. We pressed the juice out of the grapes and smelt them, tasted them, and as the wine was fermenting, really kind of made important decisions about malos and things like that. But the flavors were there and the character of the wine was there, and so we decided it would be a terrible shame just to amalgamate it all into an estate wine and lose the specialness of this. And we probably, it probably would have been maybe a better financial decision because we could have sold it all straight away rather than holding on to it. But then we wouldn't have these fun little treasures to pull out of the cellar to play with you guys. And the reality is that as Drinks with Kate people and wine club members, as a result, and yes, I have a very important I have an important bit of news to tell you at the end of this, talking about this. So I'll come back to that. Hope I remember. Don't let me forget. Important news. You guys have access to buy this wine if you want to. It's a museum stock, and so it's got a slightly different price on it, but we think it's something special and accessible. And so, getting a chance to taste it now at this stage and then be able to access the wine for your future drinking pleasure, because I don't think it's going to fall over anytime soon. we tasted it a couple of years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and Jeremy and Richard and I went, oh, I think it's getting to the end of its life. It's starting to fade a little bit. And then it rallied and it's come back better than ever, I reckon. So, yes, Kay, screw caps certainly allow aging. This is proof in the pudding, or whatever they say about puddings and proof. Michael, that's my Greek mythology. When I was a kid, I loved all those Greek myths, and the Cassandra legend really, I don't know, it kind of stuck with me. Maybe the frustration of her being able to see into the future and no one ever believing her must have been horrendous. So anyway, maybe that says more about me than you need to know at the moment. This sort of wine, we didn't make huge quantities of it. And the fact that we've got some left to sell you means that we sold very little of it when we first released it. But we've gone through all of that, and all of the reasons behind that confounded the ability to sell the wine. And back then it was very frustrating, but right now I feel really blessed to have a little treasure trove of museum wines to play with. So pretty cool. The Robinson Chardonnay for me had a more of a Robinson character, funnily enough. It had a finesse and a length and a narrowness to it that I love about the Robinson. It's very focused wine, whereas this wine's kind of got a roundness and a richness in the mid palate, and it's more savory. It's a bit more muscular, I think, than the Robinson Chardonnay. It's got this lovely kind of unctuous richness and savouriness, which is really gorgeous. All right, I'm going to dive into my pasta because I haven't tried the wine and food match yet. Jill's given me a dinky little fork, but I brought myself a knife and fork so that I could hopefully cut off a elegant little piece and pop it into my mouth without getting in the way of the talking too much. Come on, Kate, elegant little piece. Oh God, I'm dropping it everywhere, making a mess as always. Yum. Yeah, it works well. I think I might have put a little bit of extra garlic in mine compared to the recipe. And I think that sweetness of the pumpkin, the garlic, I think it's got nutmeg in it, a little bit of nutmeg. Certainly the parsley, the oregano, the creaminess of the cheese, and the lovely kind of pastariness of the pasta. I love the bite to baked pasta when it's been stuffed like this. It's beautifully cooked, but it's got a little bit al dente still. And I think it's a terrific match to the wine. Pumpkin's an interesting one. I love pumpkin, and I know in Europe they tended for a long time, and in England as well, they tended to feed the pumpkin to the pigs and to the cows. And I think the French particularly think of pumpkin as very much as peasant food and animal feed, whereas it's one of my favourite soups to make is pumpkin. No, pumpkin pie, Fiona, I'm not a big fan of the whole American pumpkin pie kind of a phenomenon. That doesn't really work for me. But as a savoury dish, particularly with pasta, I've got another lovely. I've just remembered where I got the recipe from. It was the Tasting Table website. I knew that had popped back into my head eventually. Tasting Table, which is an American website. Some of their dishes are a little bit sweet, but I think this one's really good. But I've got another really good recipe with fusilli pasta and pumpkin and blue cheese, which would be better with a Pinot Gris rather than the Chardonnay. But blue cheese and pumpkin together are really delicious. So hang on a sec. Yum. Okay, saying she loves pumpkin. Her Kiwi friend always laughed at me eating pig food. I know. it's hilarious that a lot of places that do a lot of farming grow pumpkins to feed to the pigs. I guess because they grow big and they're pretty easy to grow, but obviously pigs like them too. Maybe they make pigs taste delicious too. I know that acorns make pigs taste delicious. I'm not sure about pumpkin. But the other thing about that dish is that it brings out the acid in the wine a little bit more, makes it taste a bit fresher, a bit richer. It's really yum. Shell, thank you for the toast recommendation. It was delightful, period. Also, the wine was lovely and mellow. Yeah, they're minerally with the butter, cheese and salt. And there's this kind of salty... Cotty, there might not have been nutmeg in that one. I've been cooking a lot of different things this week, and a couple of things had nutmeg in them, and it might not have been this. So if it didn't say nutmeg in the recipe, just ignore me completely. It might have just been the salt and pepper and the oregano and the parsley. Kevin and Emily disagree about whether pumpkin's savoury or sweet vegetable. He loves his pumpkin pie. Yeah, absolutely. No nutmeg. Okay, sorry. Take the nutmeg comment away. I thought I could taste nutmeg. Maybe I put nutmeg in mine just because I felt like it. Can you taste nutmeg in that, Jill? Yeah, I think I put nutmeg in mine. I just like riffing on the recipe a little bit. Try it with nutmeg next time. It's pretty nice, actually. Craig, you got censored again. You must be on a list. You dislike pumpkin spice. Well, they probably think you're one of those dangerous people who goes around dissing pumpkin spice. Craig, that's... Did you use a bad word again? That's very funny. I don't know anyone else who gets censored except for you, Craig, so you must be on the list. Not my list, by the way. I don't have an auto-censorship list, so it must be out there in YouTube land. That's very funny. What else are people saying? Delicious. Yum. Okay, good. Excellent. The other thing I was going to say about this wine is that Shell reminded me of is that even though it's quite unctuous and rich, it's got this savoury minerality and it does have a saltiness to it on the finish, which I think is awesome and is one of those lovely flavour profiles for the McIntyre Chardonnay. And that saltiness comes through in all of our McIntyre Chardonnays, but particularly from a cool year like 2011, when the fruit ripens so slowly, that minerality really pulls through. Peter thinks pumpkin spice must be another Spice Girl. Good on you, Peter and Karen. Yeah, David, it does have a real maritime kind of a character to it as well, doesn't it? And for me, this wine is unmistakably Moorooduc, even though it's from an unusual year. It's got the thumbprint of the Moorooduc Chardonnay, that savouriness and richness, freshly cut shell, but also slightly windswept, so a bit of both. But I did go to the hairdressers this morning. Thank you for noticing. He put lots of powdery stuff in it to make it all stick out in funny directions, and it's gone a bit flat now. So anyway, sorry, Tim. I do my best to try and look cool after my haircut. But yeah, there's this, I can't even describe it because I smell it and I go, I'm home. It's Duc Chardonnay. So lovely. So good. Michael's sitting here. It really brings back memories of the tastings during COVID lockdown. Oh, my pleasure, Michael. I think it was an important time, and I think it's, the fact that this group continues goes to show how much camaraderie we built up over that time. So I think that's pretty awesome. Yes, Fiona, a little bit of butterscotch, sort of salted caramel coming through on the nose now. But also that sweetness of baked pumpkin, brioche as well. What cheese is good with this, Angela wants to know. A hard Gruyere would be good with this. I think that some cheddars would be a little bit too tangy for it, Angela, but a sort of a soft cheddar or a youngish cheddar might work. I'm not sure about washed rind. It could do quite well. Brie, I think, is going to be a little bit more difficult with this wine. I really like it with like a Persian feta on crunchy bread as well. I think that's rather delicious. Or even the Meredith marinated goat's cheese feta also does very well. Comte is beautiful with it. Gruyère's great with it. Emmental, fantastic. Even no, what's that one? It's not Swiss cheese, but Swiss cheese would work quite well with this. But it's the one with the caraway seeds in it. That cheese with the caraway seeds in it. It's a Dutch cheese anyway, and it's delicious, and it would work really nicely with this too, in a toasted cheese sandwich particularly. I think that caraway cheese, caraway seed cheese. It's not Edam, Anne-Marie, but that's also nice. It's like an Edam, but it's got caraway seeds all the way through it. And it's got yellow wax on it. Leyden. Is that what it's called, Kay? That could be right. Edam and Gouda are both yummy, Angela, but it's a different Leyden cheese, Kay is telling me, and I believe her. It's great. I really like it. I got a bit addicted to it when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I sort of discovered it and went, this is the best cheese in the world, and maybe overdosed on it a little bit, but it melts really well as well. So it's great. Cumin and caraway, yeah, absolutely. It's great in a toasted cheese sandwich. If you have some really nice sort of smoked ham in there as well, that can be pretty gorgeous too. Goat's cheese on toast with an ortitz anchovy would be fabulous with this as well, David. Absolutely. Karen says Comte is wonderful with everything. You're going to die on that hill, are you? Excellent. Karen's thinking of adding to soup, some Comte to the soup. Oh yeah, that could work. I have Linda paired it with aged Comte many years ago at a Jill's lunch. It was an epiphany for you. Excellent. I think that Comte is a pretty amazing cheese for Chardonnay, aged Chardonnay particularly. Pretty unreal. So Michael wants to know what came first in my life, food or wine. Well, I've always been quite greedy and always loved food, Michael. But from a very young child, I was never a fussy eater, and always Mum used to pack me the most incredible school lunches sometimes because I used to enjoy flavours. But I also remember as a very small child, Mum and Dad having dinner parties and being allowed to come and say hello to all the guests when they arrived and being allowed to have a sip of Dad's champagne. And I thought that was pretty special. And when Mum and Dad this was before we had Moorooduc, and Mum and Dad would have these dinner parties on a Friday night with their friends. And I would go to, we'd all go to bed and they'd have their dinner. And then Beck and Christy and Peter was too little, but we'd get up in the morning and Beck and Christy would eat the leftover chocolates and I'd drink the leftover dessert wine that was left on the table. So I think wine and food have been equally important. I'm just, as a young child, I was obsessed with smells and flavors, and as an adult, I'm obsessed with smells and flavors. So it's something that I love. I love great food. I love great wine. And that's, it's just how I was brought up, and it's my genetics as well, I'm sure. So, yeah. Fiona, your husky goes nuts for Comte. Well, Polly quite likes Comte as well, but I try not to let her have too much chicken and wine egg. Absolutely, David. After dinner minutes from dinner parties are always very special. Leftover ports from your parents' dinner parties. So, Kay, Mum particularly has never really been a huge fan of port because I think she drank really cheap, nasty port when she was a university student, and then kind of decided that wasn't for her anymore. So Mum and Dad used to have Sauterne-like wines. Sometimes Sauterne because it was a bit more affordable in those days, but botrytized dessert wines with dessert or after dessert more often than ports. But yes, delicious sweet wine, delicious for a 7-year-old or whatever I was at the time. Very cool. How good were after dinner mints? They were so good. Do they still make them? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they still make after dinner mints. We should go on an after dinner mint search. They don't, after dinner mints don't actually go with any wine that I can think of, but they're very good after the wine with a little espresso. Yes, the thin ones, Craig, absolutely. And they come in their own little envelope, little paper envelope, and they've got chocolate around the outside and mint in the middle. Very, very cool. And all the posh versions of them since are nice, but they're not a patch on their original after dinner mint. All right, team. Oh, Fiona, you put in an order at Stanton Colleen at my recommendation. Excellent. Good. I've still got a couple of their vintage ports, which we'll be enjoying at some stage. Dad and I enjoy them, even if and Mum, actually, you enjoyed that vintage port, didn't you, the other week? She thought that was pretty special. So that was good. Mint does kill wine, Cotty. Even something like a vintage port or Pedro Jimenez. That's great with chocolate, or a Recioto d'Amarone, also great with chocolate, can't work with mint. The mint just does dreadful things to it. So eat your minty chocolate with your coffee afterwards or with your peppermint tea. That's my recommendation. I love, and another insight into the psychology of Kate McIntyre. My favourite combination as a kid was choc mint. So choc mint ice cream, after dinner mints, dark chocolate and mint, very good flavours. But then I also like licorice ice cream. So there you go. That's, again, more information than you need. Mint and absinthe, David. No, I'm not going anywhere near absinthe ever. It just terrifies me. There's enough naughty alcohol in my life as it is without bringing absinthe into it. Okay, Kay's reminded me about the important news as we were trailing off into chocolate and mint conversations. So the important news is that I know I've been promising this for years, but we actually have a tentative launch date for our new website. Joel, if you're watching, I'm not sure if I've told you this yet, but the 1st of October is our tentative launch date for the new website. If we've got everything done, which we should definitely be able to do by then, at the launch of our new website, Drinks with Kate members will be able to sign up to a year of Drinks with Kate, and then you don't need to buy a box. You don't need to remember to put your order in every 2 months. You'll just get a little email from the wine club that says, "Hi, Craig. The next Drinks with Kate box will be shipping in the next 7 days. Please let us know if you want to postpone that one, or if you're happy for it to go ahead, then it's on its way next week." So it will just take the hassle out of you having to remember to keep ordering, and it also gets you signed up officially for the wine club. So you'll have your own wine club page. You'll be able to see all of the wine club, exclusive wine club wine offers, invitations to the dinners and tastings and lunches and things like that. So it's been a long time coming. We think we found the right product to be the back of house for the website. We're very excited. We've signed all the contracts. We've paid the money. We just need to get the thing put together now. We've got 2 fabulous web designers working on it for us. So 1st of October is the date that I'm spruiking, and I'm super excited. We'll also then be able to have all the other Drinks with Kate stuff if and when we do more merch, then that can go on there as well. All of that stuff, it's going to be great. Unfortunately, David, they didn't want to be paid in wine. We did offer, but do you just send out random numbers of boxes or just one? Well, Craig, we'll just send you 3, okay? So yes, no, I know it's dreadful day. I think they've got children to feed and stuff, and their wives told them they weren't allowed to have wine instead of money. But that's okay. They've joined in on the Drinks with Kate a few times, so they might even be watching in now. You never know. If this is news to you, Joel, then 1st of October, I'll send you an email tomorrow. What was the other news that I was going to tell you? Oh, I'm still, Penny and I are still in talks about potential trip to Sicily next year. So just waiting to see where we get with that. If we run out of time, maybe we should think about going to New Zealand next year and Sicily the year after. But whatever happens, there will be a trip next year somewhere. The plan is for it to be around May, sort of second half of May, maybe first half of May. Anyway, sometime in May is what I'm thinking. So pencil that into your diaries as well if you're feeling like traveling. Next week, we are looking at Pinot Gris from the Garden Vineyard, one and only single vineyard Pinot Gris that we made in 2012. So back to the 2012 vintage for that. That's going to be lots of fun. I will rack my brains for a fabulous wine and food match. Will be very, very fun. We'll pull something together, Karen. Absolutely. I think, the important thing is that we do something. And if Sicily's just too hard for May next year, then maybe New Zealand next year, and we could go to Italy another. Canberra's also an option. I would also love to go to Canberra. So plenty of options. We'll get ourselves organised for next year. We'll do some excursions. It'll be great. Pinot Gris next week. Stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your Chardonnay if you've got any left. Fireworks, Fiona. Another Drinks with Kate from the history books. No worries, Shell. Absolutely. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying the food and wine matches, Connie and John. See you all next week. It's been real. Love you all. Take care and be good. That's all I can say.